Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. This is part 3 in my Chiaroscuro series, and in this one we're going to keep working on the face of the pirate and try to show the shapes and the dark and light. If you're following along traditionally, check out part 1 of my series where I have a list of all the paint, brushes, and the canvases that I use. The app that I'm using is Infinite Painter for Android. And here I'm just continuing work on the eyes. The eyes are too big, they need to be smaller. And I'm trying to get the eyebrows and sort of the hat and all those things. So what you do when you correct eyes and try to get eyes is the colors around them is what you use to make the eyelids and sort of the eyelashes, and so you go back and forth with light and dark colors to try to make that show up and get the shape of the eyes. And so here I'm just kind of working on the mouth and the nose, also the eye and the shadow, trying to get sort of the right shape. You want to still have the full eye drawn there so that you get the right shape even as you put it in shadow. And so here that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get the nose, under the nose, the shadows under the nose, and sort of the jawline, trying to get the correct look on the jawline, and trying to get the 5 o'clock shadow that he has there. It's not a full beard, so it's kind of tricky because you're trying to just kind of get the thin look there. And I'm working a little bit on the shape of the lips. And if you're following along traditionally, probably start using your number 3 round brush, because you're getting into the detail work now. Now you're getting into where you fine tune the features and try to get the right shape and of the eyebrows and the eyes and the jawline. And so you don't want to add a lot of paint. You just want to add little dabs here and there to try to get the correct look there. And so I'm just kind of working on the eyes again, and I thought I might make them brown, but I wasn't sure. I decided not to because it didn't look good, but I toyed with that idea. And so I'm trying to work on the eyelid right here and just get the shape of the eye. Half of the eye is kind of in darkness on the left side, so you want to kind of show that as well. And then here I'm trying to get the shape of the eyebrows, um, the little space between the hat and the brow line, and just all these little details, all these things that make the portrait accurate and give it the essence of the person that you're painting. And I'm using sort of the filbert brush and the flat oil. There's an old oil brush in Infinite Painter, and sort of the chalk shader, the fine blender, a bunch of those just to kind of blend in the flesh tones. And again, I'm trying to get the edge of the nose because it does show up a little bit, and we want that to show the form of his face. And so that's what I'm trying to get there, and trying to get the nose straight and not have it be crooked, and just all the things that you do when you're a portrait painter. And as I mentioned before, they has eyeliner on because he's being a pirate. And ever since they did the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, a lot of them want to copy that look of Captain Jack Sparrow in the Disney movies. So it gives it that look when they put eyeliner on there. And here I have a version of the photograph that I got from Pixabay, and I've highlighted it. I've went ahead and brightened it so that I can see the details of the painting and of the photograph. So I can see the eye and sort of the edge of the face, and just to make sure that I'm getting things accurate. And so that's what I'm looking at there, to try to get the eyes correct and the size of the eyes. And I made them smaller. And here's where I started to add brown to the eyes, just because I thought it would be better, but it wasn't. It was better as blue eyes, because it gave more contrast. And here I'm working on the nose again, trying to get that shape. I had it a little too wide before, so I'm trying to make it a little bit more narrow and just get the correct shape there. And when you're doing portraits, you want to make sure that the end of the nostrils lines up with the end of your eyes there. They are going to go kind of, if you draw a straight line from the end of the eye to the end of the nostril, they should line up fairly correctly. And so that's just kind of a general proportion and rule that you can use to make sure that your portraits are looking correct. So that's kind of what I was doing there, just seeing that, making sure that they line up with the edge of the eyes there. And so I'm just kind of working on it again, and I've got the eyes smaller, which is better because I had them too big. You have to watch that. You have to make sure that you get the eye size correct. You don't want them too big unless you're just doing that for a certain style or something, but this is not. We're trying to get a portrait here. And so I'm just working on looking at the overexposed picture and then going back to the original here to see how much dark I need to add on the eye again, and working on the eyebrow shape, the jawline shape, trying to get the hat. The hat's mostly going to fade into the background, but we still kind of need to make sure that we have the right shape there. So I'm working on that, trying to get all that correct, and using the smudge brush to make it fade into the background there and make soft edges. We want soft edges, especially on the edge of the nose too, even though it's a pretty big contrast there. We still want to soften the edges, and I'm making kind of a broken line of shadow on the nose because that shows sort of the curves and the contours of the nose. And so I'm adding a little bit more of the light flesh color into the dark part on the left side to again give it some depth and some three-dimensionality. And then I'm working on the hair. You've got to keep working on the hair, keep working on the ear, make sure the ear is the correct size and not too big, and just kind of trying to get the shape of the eye there and the shadow. This is what portraiture is. You just have to go back and forth and work on it and work on it and tweak it until you finally get it looking like the person that it's supposed to be. So that's what I'm doing here. Just trying to work on the shape of the eyes. It's beginning to look closer. It's beginning to look better. The eyes are getting more correct. The nose is more correct now. The mouth. It's beginning to look more like the person in the photograph there. And so I'm working a little bit on the hat, trying to get the shape of the hat as well. And the feathers, you want to have the feathers because that adds some contrast and some interest. And then here I'm working a little bit more on the eyes. I thought I would try brown, and it's kind of a burnt sienna color. And if you wanted to make this a supernatural looking painting, you could make the eyes red. That brown there looked almost kind of reddish. So if you wanted to make him a vampire or something scary, a ghost or something, you could make the eyes red and change that color. But I decided that the brown just didn't show up as well. So I went ahead and changed it back later on. But here I'm sort of working on the shape of the eye, trying to get the right pupil size. And when you're doing the whites of the eyes, use an off-white color. In fact, if you're following along traditionally, take some white acrylic gesso and put some of your flesh mixture into it, because you don't want a real bright white. You want a sort of a off-white color. Otherwise, it'll just be too jarring and too glaring, and it won't look realistic, because the whites of the eyes aren't completely white. They've got the blood vessels in them and things like that, and that makes it darker and more of an off-whitish color. And then here I'm working on the eyelid, trying to get the shape of the eye there. And this is something that you just have to do when you're working on the eyes, is try to get the eyelid shape, try to get the eyelashes. Here I'm trying to get the darkened look of the eyelashes with the eyeliner. And when people wear makeup, that's kind of tricky. You have to make it look not clown-like. So you have to make the makeup that they have on sort of blend in with their features and make it work. You can't make it too garish, because that will make it look more like a clown, and you don't want that. So here I'm just kind of working on the eyebrows and the space between the eyebrows and the eye, on the shadowed part, the edge of the eye, and the highlight part. You can pinch, zoom out in Infinite Painter and look at it and see if it looks correct. And that's kind of like stepping back from your painting and looking at it. So this is the end of our Chiaroscuro study, part 3. In part 4, we're going to continue working on the features and refining them and adding more highlights and more darks. So if you're interested in that, hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below. And I will catch you later.